My name's Keith Porco from SinterFire. We're in Kersey, Pennsylvania. SinterFire predominantly produces lead-free frangible projectiles. We do make our own ammunition, do some law enforcement sales, some indoor ranges, but Fiocchi this year we're partnering with, and they're going to load our flat points, our hollow points, range training ammunition, self-defense duty ammunition. They're going full bore with it. So I'm kind of on loan to Fiocchi for the year to go out and do these live fire demonstrations to educate the public on frangible bullets, because there's a lot of misinformation out there on what they do and what they don't do. I'm going to show you how the bullets are made, kind of down and dirty. I'm going to show you how they break up when they hit something as hard as themselves or harder. I'm going to show you how they penetrate very deeply through soft tissue. I'm going to show you how they fragment on soft tissue with the hollow points, and we're going to shoot some steel close up. So when we make our SinterFire copper tin bullets, and you can come on up and get a little bit closer. None of this stuff bites. It might blow in your eyes. This is copper and tin metal powder. 90% copper, 10% tin. This is what the bullets are made out of. This is how they start life. It's not a copper strip. It's not a wire. It's not machined. It's pressed. It's metal powders that are compressed under a lot of pressure. They'll go into a press, they'll come out, and they'll look like a shiny new penny. Just like that. And when they come out of the press, when these two metal powders are combined, this is what you get. Looks just like a 9mm bullet. And forgive my hammer, but this is the best I could do on short notice. Now you're saying to yourself, well, that can't be right, because how could you shoot something like that? It's soft, you can break it up by throwing it on the ground. Well, our next step in our production process is to heat treat that projectile. So the next thing we do, once these bullets come out of a press, they go right into a furnace. The furnace heat treats them. That 90% copper, 10% tin mixture that we make the projectiles out of, the tin melts and bonds everything together. So again, no jacket, no plating. That's what holds the bullet together. So now it's a lot more robust. And yes, it will break, but it's a lot more robust. So it handles loading, chambering, firing, and when it hits anything as hard as itself, it will disintegrate. But one of the misnomers about frangible is that it doesn't penetrate, that you shouldn't use it for self-defense and you shouldn't use it for hunting. Well, that's total BS, because they do penetrate actually rather well, and we'll get into that. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to use this box. This is what we call a Frangibility box. SinterFire created this, and it's been adopted by Sammy and Fletzy as a way to determine a bullet's frangibility. So if we fire into this box, we're looking for two standards. One, bullet breaks up and nothing comes back at us through the cardboard. And two, what size are the bullet fragments? So Sammy says a bullet had to be considered frangible. A bullet has to break up to within 5% of the projectile's weight. So if we have a 100 grain 9mm, we're looking for around 5 grains. If we've got a 175 grain 45 or a 325 grain shotgun slug, they can't hold us. We have to use 5%. So the pieces can be just a tad bit bigger. But it's how they break up versus traditional lead and cup and core made bullets with gilding metal jackets. Those bullets like to splatter, and that metal's actually molten, but it holds together really well, and it likes to come back to its point of origin from the energy transfer. So a lot of times bullets will hit steel plates and they'll come right straight back at us, because that's where they came from. So having a bullet that breaks and crumbles and dispels all of its energy, it doesn't do that. It doesn't come back to us, and we'll see how that works. So I need everybody to back up. Now the standard that we use, Anteris, going hot. And if you want to film this, please come up, just stay behind me, okay? We're going to shoot pistol rounds. Now the normal standard's 10 rounds. We use in production testing is 10 rounds. Going hot. Gun's clear, come on up. So that was, instead of 10 rounds, that was about 20 rounds. So now we've got holes in the cardboard, but we've got nothing coming back out at us. This is how we tell that that bullet meets our production standard for being frangible. Then we look in the box. Now some of these fragments look big, but I weigh them all the time. These flat pieces are the nose of the bullet. The powder kind of reforms on itself, and you'll get some larger fragments. But for the most part, it's powder. Now some of these fragments look big, but we'll show you how that works in just a minute. They look big, but it's copper and tin, so it's not heavy. So they can't carry enough energy to do anything to you. They're too light. So typically at the end of the day, when I do these demonstrations or I do a lot of stuff at work, I come home and I might have it in my hair or on my clothes. But I don't ever get a piece stuck in me. And that's what we want, is not to get injured. So we're gonna back up again right quick.
See this. I saw it 2 years ago.
We're gonna shoot this steel up close, so come on up, Kelly. Come on. And one of you guys filming. You're gonna be my other pigeon. Come on over here. Need you on my left.
Here's why that's a great idea. Ask Lori Blackwell.
Well, yeah. You come on this side.
Me?
Nope, you stay right there. Need you to do hand on my shoulder so I know where you're at. Give me your hand on my shoulder so I know where you're at. Okay, going hot. Have you ever shot steel this close?
No.
Okay, well, now you have.
Okay, now I saw a few come.
Yep.
Right to about, oh, I'm going in front of the line, I'm sorry.
But again,
just to about here.
yep, and you're gonna feel it, but it's gonna be like sand blowing on you.
Okay.
Okay, hand on my shoulder again. You ever shot steel this close? No. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't safe.
Oh, Keith.
You ever shot steel this close?
No, I wouldn't say.
No.
I closed my eyes.
You're feeling it though, right?
I'm feeling it, yeah.
Gun's clear and in the holster.
It felt like little hail.
Yeah.
Little bits of hail smacking down on me. But
the projectile breaks up, and it can't. Those pieces cannot carry enough energy to come back and hurt you. You're gonna feel it. You still need to wear eye protection.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel it coming back on you. Now, we recommend in our literature and in Fiocchi's literature, because they're buying bullets from us, at least 5 yards for pistol and 10 for rifle. But for these live fire demonstrations, we get close. We were about 3-4 inches away for the last couple shots with the pistol. So that's the pistol.
Rip my pants.
No, it won't rip your pants. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't safe. I've done a bunch of these, and the best way I can describe the sensation is getting hot sand blown on you from the beach. That's about the best way I can describe it. Is you're gonna feel it, but the projectile pieces, the particles, they just don't have enough weight to come back and bite you. They're just too light. So that was 100 grain 9mm, traveling about 1,300 feet per second out of this handgun. So now let's do the same thing with rifle. So this is the 55 grain 223 rifle bullet. Out of my gun, it's going to be traveling about 2850, 2900 feet per second. Out of a 20-inch barrel, it'll be running close to 3. For demonstration purposes, you're going to see the steel's going to get some pock marks in it, but that's because we're so stinking close. Typically, you're shooting steel, it's rifle grade steel. It's not going to hurt it that much. My box, these test boxes, some of them are going on 20 years old. Same piece of steel, 20 years old, it's been hit thousands and thousands and thousands of times. I have a plate hanging on my range at work that's over 20 years old. Same plate, it's been shot with 223s, 308s, shotgun slugs made out of the same compressed copper tin material, and it's just now starting to finally bow. It's starting to flex a little bit. So if you have steel on your range, you know it gets shot up eventually. It gets holes in it, gets pockmarked, it gets cratered, and it becomes a lot more dangerous. bullets will hit those pock marks and reform that lead and that gilding metal jacket like to form up, and they'll come right back out of those pock marks and stick in you somewhere, and we don't want that. Or they're going to fly out of your range and go somewhere we don't want them to. So that's, if you have an outdoor range with a small footprint, they're lucky out here because you'll hear bullets going zing, zing, zing all day long. If you were in more of an urban type area, that means those bullets are probably leaving the footprint of your range, and you don't want that because you're probably going to get sued. So let's do some rifle. I'll talk about that, get to that, but yes, there is. So same thing with rifle. I won't hammer on it too much here, but going hot. Guns clear. Same principle with the rifle into the shoot box. We want rounds going in, but we don't want anything coming back out. And I'm trying to conserve a little bit of ammo here because I got lots of these demos to do, but same thing. And we don't, and you'll see the back of this box is getting shot up because we're so close. When you hit it with rifles, eventually it starts to soften up the steel. But the most important thing is the shooter's okay. So we're gonna back up again. We're gonna do the same thing. I'll need 2 more folks to come on up. Come on, you're not gonna get hurt. Come on. You come up on my right side.
All right.
Lori, on my left. All right. Hand on a shoulder so I know where you're at. Going hot. So have you ever shot steel this close with a rifle?
Negative. No.
Well, now you have. Okay, everything's fine. You ever shot steel this close with a rifle?
I'm a little trouble.
Lori, I wouldn't do this if it wasn't safe. Gun's clear. Are you bleeding?
Negative.
No.
But did you die? Lori, I think
So the frangibility aspect of the projectiles is pretty cool. I get spoiled shooting them because I go to steel shoots, and eventually you'll hear me say, ow! And I'll say some kind of explicatory lead shooters, and they'll look at me like, well, what are you talking about? Why would we shoot anything else? Well, there's options. Any of you ever go out to the LA area? Anybody from California? So the rifle range, just about an hour north of LA, LAPD uses it. They have a big sign in their parking lot that says, "We are not responsible for damage to vehicles due to ricochets."
Oh, nice.
So LAPD uses that for a lot of their rifle training. LAPD captain rolls in a brand new Tesla, parks on the range, gets out, he's all proud of his car, and we hear, pew, thump. Somebody launched a 45, 230 grain jacketed round that hit a piece of steel or a rock or something, floated out of the range and bonk right on his hood. He was pissed, to say the least. I would be too, brand new car. Yeah, he wasn't happy. So, and that's a material thing that can be replaced, we can't. So the frangibility aspect of the SinterFire bullet's pretty heavy. The lead-free aspect of it, when we're on an outdoor range like this in Vegas, nobody cares. But there's a lot of places, especially indoors, where lead is a huge, huge concern. So for some of the indoor ranges in Vegas that use a SinterFire bullet, the EPA and the OSHA inspectors come in, and the first place they go is their food counter, and they swab it. And if that swab turns blue, that means there's too much lead there, and the food service will get shut down. They have their indoor ranges that they need to clean, that they have to keep track of. They have to monitor their filters. Lead can be a real problem, and you have to manage it. And the SinterFire bullet can help not do that. You can have a lot more freedom on your indoor range. So now we'll get into the more interesting part. We've talked about how frangible bullets don't penetrate. Well, we're going to put that to bed right now. So yes, Fiocchi is going to buy the projectiles from us. They're going to put them on their loading presses, their powder, their brass, and turn them into loaded ammunition. So you'll see it in a Fiocchi box under a Fiocchi brand name. So let's get back to the hollow, or to the flat points again. So this is the same bullet I showed you earlier, the flat point. The bullet has to hit any of the SinterFire bullets, whether they be 9s, 40s, 45s, buckshot pellets, number 4 and 00, or a shotgun slug. It's got to hit something as hard as itself. So I'm going to shoot the flat points in this gel. So make sure you back a little bit. Going hot. Gun's clear. So everybody saw the impacts on the berm, right? Come on up. Frangible bullets like to penetrate even better because the way they're made, they're a monolithic solid. That means that from the tip to the base, they're relatively the same weight. They don't have a lead base or a heavier copper base, so they like to penetrate straight through. So this is full metal jacket type performance. It doesn't fragment, it doesn't do anything. This bullet's got to hit something as hard as itself or harder, except if it's hollow pointed. So we take the same copper tin bullet, we produce it exactly the same, except we drill a hole in it. And it's drilled specifically with a certain diameter bit to a certain depth to penetrate through all of the FBI test protocol, except the windshield. It can't beat a windshield. You have to shoot a bonded bullet, an SXT or a gold dot, and we're going to shoot some of those a little bit later to defeat the windshield. But police departments I go to, they say, well, if it won't do that, then we're not going to use it for standard duty. But we've got schools, we've got jails, we've got correctional institutions where you're working in a hardened environment all day long, that ricochet is a huge concern. So now we'll take a look at the hollow point bullet. So frangibles penetrate. So a lot of people that hunt hogs and deer, they like bullets that are super deep penetrators, like a hard cast lead bullet. They like our bullets because they'll penetrate through a pig one end to the other, through a deer one end to the other. That's what I used to hunt handgun with, is our solid bullets. I've also hunted with the hollow point bullets, and we'll see what they look like. So if you can back up again, I'll get me a... Okay, 100 grain 9mm frangible hollow point. Going hot. Gun's clear. Come on up.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So the nose of the bullet down to the depth that we drill the hollow point, that's where you get the fragmentation. So I shot one earlier. I tried to get a couple shots out of each of these blocks. But anytime you build a bullet for defensive purposes, offensive purposes, however you want to look at it, you need either massive expansion and penetration, or massive fragmentation and penetration. These blocks, a lot of people think they measure the human body front to back. They don't. They represent the human body shoulder to shoulder, because gunfights aren't two-dimensional. Bullets penetrating from odd angles, you have to penetrate in. So this performance is great. We cut a lot of tissue, a lot of blood loss, but we need something left over to penetrate. And let's see, keep in mind that I flunked out of medical school.
You need a longer scalpel.
Or, yeah, a longer knife might work, but...
So someone my size who's kind of scrawny.
There we go. Ta-da!
Ta-da.
So you can see there's kind of a shiny dimple. That's where the drill bit stopped.
Looks like a little Sharpie pencil.
So we've built our bullets. So we go through all the FBI test protocol. Bare gel, light clothing, heavy clothing, wallboard, car door. We can pass all of the FBI protocol with 12 inches of penetration except the windshield. I just can't do it. Not even gonna, can't lie, won't do it.
So in comparing to a lead bullet in terms of a hollow point for like the exit wound size, is that similar, smaller, because it looks a little smaller?
It depends.
Like is it?
It depends on
the wounding capacity, right?
It depends on how it exits. So if a conventional hollow point exit this block, it's going to blow out a little bit. Right. Where our base is, it may not blow out as much. Depending on the scenario, though, you may not want that exit wound. You still want a good deep penetration, but you may not want an exit wound. I like exit wounds personally, especially for handguns. Handgun bullets, they're big enough. We just can't make them go fast enough yet. The day that we can make about 125 grain bullet go about 2,500 feet per second out of a handgun, then we'll have something. But until then, it's tough. You know, pistol bullets are big enough. We just can't make them go fast enough. So we need a bullet that's going to perform as absolute best it can.
At that speed, right?
So, why would you want this though? I need everybody to back up again, please. I got to set up something here a little quick. So this is 124 grain Spear Gold Dot that I have in my magazine now. I got about 4 rounds. Great bullet. It was born damn near perfect. It's bonded, it penetrates deep, and it expands. But it has one weakness that most lead bullets do, and that's it ricochets. And when it ricochets, it becomes even more dangerous. And I'll show you that. So let's say we're working in a school or somewhere in a hardened type facility. And we miss. What happens to that bullet? It goes somewhere we don't want it to. So again, 4 rounds, Gold Dot, going hot. Well, it was only 3 rounds, I lied, but come on up. Bonded bullets, they're built to stay together. The lead core is electrochemically bonded to the jacket, so it makes a tougher bullet, more robust, so it holds together. Those bullets, when they ricochet, they turn into nice little flat buzz saws, and they stay lethal darn near out to the range that they normally would being fired anyway. So you can see we've got 3 nice little buzz saw holes in our cardboard here, and a couple pieces of smaller, maybe jacket fragment. So if we miss, and I always say we could be shooting at, you know, the worst perpetrator ever, and if we miss and hit something we're not supposed to, we're going to go from hero to zero like right now, and probably be involved in some sort of lawsuit. But back up again. So that was 3 rounds. We'll do, let's see how many I can get stuffed in the mag here on short notice. So we saw how the SinterFire bullet penetrated and fragmented in soft tissue, but what happens if we miss? Well, I'll show you. Eyes and ears, going hot. So that was maybe 10 rounds or better. Come on up. So yeah, now we've got a bunch of smaller holes. But I can tell you from experience that if you cover this with denim, they typically don't even penetrate that. So instead of a wound that's gonna kill you or incapacitate you, now you got a bee sting wound. Which would you rather have? Now a lot of people say, well, those 3 rounds could have went anywhere, but that spray's kind of all across the bottom. Well, okay, so now you're gonna gamble. I would still rather take 1 or 2 of these shots from a SinterFire bullet sprayed than take my chances with one of these cutting a big hole in me that's most likely going to be incapacitating or lethal, or at least make me want to sue the shit out of you. So for hardened environments, and where it comes in is school resource officers, correctional facilities, you know, home defense and concealed carry, it gives you a little bit of an edge as far as safety on what happens when you miss. We've all seen, you know, the church shooter here in Texas. One of the first places the SinterFire bullet was approved was in Texas for their school resource officers, because they needed a high performance hollow point with a little measure of safety. So that's the SinterFire bullet, whether it's loaded by Fiocchi or Winchester or whoever. But Fiocchi's one of the first major companies to pick up our hollow point bullet, so you're going to see it marketed under the Fiocchi brand name. But what they're selling is everything you've seen demonstrated here is the SinterFire bullet.
What did you say the FPS of it was?
The 9 was about 1300 out of this gun. So out of a smaller gun, like maybe a Ruger PC9 or something like that, or LC9, probably closer to maybe 12, because you're going to lose velocity because of barrel length. But we function test through all of those guns to make sure that they work. We just had the STI guy out here running all his custom 1911s to make sure that everything runs, because he's probably going to start using this ammunition for his demonstrations, because they like to shoot a lot of steel, they like to shoot a lot of plate racks, and it's going to be a lot more efficient and a lot safer for them, because they can come to a range, throw up their steel plates and go to town and not have to worry so much about ricochet.
Will it knock over the plate or just splatter and the plate stays up?
No, it has enough. So this plate rack right here.
Sorry to ask all these.
No, bring it on. Bring it on. So let's back up again. I should only need 6 rounds, right? All right, going hot again. We're gonna pay attention to the plates. Gun's clear. Come on up. The bullet still has enough energy transfer to knock over. If you go to competition, those of you that shoot competition, they're going to calibrate the steel knockdown targets for like a 115 grain 9mm. So if the targets are calibrated for that, our 100 grain is going to knock them down just fine. I've been shooting them in competition now for 20 some years, and I've never had a problem not being able to knock down a plate that was calibrated for a 9mm. Anything else?
Your shotgun slugs, are they for training? Are they for hunting?
Both.
Okay.
So they don't have any yet. We're just getting, Fiocchi's just getting rolling with the standard pistol stuff and the rifle stuff. But the shotgun slugs, when hopefully next year we'll be demoing those out here, I do the same thing. Shoot up close on a steel plate, shoot in the box, and then hit a block of ballistic gel with it, and it obliterates that block. So they could be used very, very well for hunting. I have police agencies that use them to put down deer alongside of the road, and they don't have to worry about ricochets. Because usually, I mean, I've seen, you know, state troopers trying to drag a kicking deer off the side of the road to try and put it down, and 20 minutes later, after the deer kicks the shit out of them, they finally get to put the poor thing down. So, because they're worried about bouncing a bullet off the pavement, because they know that that bullet probably going to go through that deer at that distance. When I do those demonstrations, it's neat to watch the crowd, because I say, okay, I'm going to shoot the pistol close up on steel. Okay, no big deal. I'm going to shoot the rifle close up on steel. Maybe not. Okay, and I'm going to shoot this shotgun, and then people say, oh, hell no, you ain't. And And same thing. It hits, it disintegrates, and nothing comes back to the shooter other than the sand-like particles that you feel. We even have a 650 grain 50 BMG. Go on YouTube, look up SinterFire, and you'll see me back in the old days. My beard's a little darker. I'm about 5 feet away from a big steel plate with a Barrett going boom. Wow, I lived through that one. Get closer, because we hadn't done it before. We hadn't shot that close with the 50 BMG before. So the military's picking it up for aerial gunnery from the GAU 19s. They don't want ricochets. They need a training ammunition that they can gun targets 100 meters, 200 meters, and don't have to worry about a giant piece of 50 coming back through the chin bubble of the aircraft and hurting the aircraft, and most importantly, the pilot. So we've actually developed a 650 grain boat-tailed tracer 50 caliber bullet. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'll be demoing that tomorrow at the First Spear range out in the other middle of nowhere desert.
Cool.
No, over in Jean.
A secret.
The secret place.
Oh.
I'll be demoing that out there tomorrow.
And then a dumb physics question. The recoil's the same. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's all, everything else is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why, so if you'll look at when Fiocchi gets their spec sheets out, and they may have them in their catalogs, I haven't even looked at them yet, but you're gonna see the velocities are a little bit higher. So the bullets are a little bit lighter weight, 100 grain, so we crank it up. It's still 35,000 PSI for normal chamber pressure, but we get it right to the max of that, so you get same felt recoil, same gun function.
Very nice.
Good stuff.
All right, thanks for coming.
Still gonna get
See
out there to PA.
So come on, let's look at some of the accessories that we have here.
40% lighter than our standard product. You would lift it up slightly, remove the tab, 1500 lumens.
You have a really strong connection.
That's the TED, the tactical electronic extraction device. This is a full aluminum and waterproof, airtight